My practice has been transformed by reading an excellent book by the Centre for Curriculum Redesign. The book was called The Four-Dimensional Education Model, and one of the basic concepts is the fact that knowledge by itself has devalued over time because Google knows everything, so it's not so much important about what you know, but what you can do with what you know. So one of the things that they suggest is that we should just be focusing on teaching meta concepts and meta skills. What they mean by meta concepts and skills are those things that transcend curriculum areas. They are valuable across all curricular areas. So they're not specific to science and not specific to mathematics, for example. And another thing that's important about them is that they're concepts that we want to stick with students after they leave school. So they're enduring concepts. Enduring concepts and skills that we want to stick with the students after they leave school. They will then build on that at university, or they'll be able to apply it across many different facets of a work environment, regardless of what the field is. And I think a really good way of me understanding that myself is remembering every time I go and teach a unit that I haven't perhaps taught, well, since the year before, something like mitosis or meiosis, one of those detailed concepts in biology. I need to go back and relearn it myself before I teach it. And ironically, I watch my own videos to remind myself how to teach it. But the point is, I don't retain the minute detail. So there's absolutely no way that our students are going to retain that minute detail either. So what's important for them is to remember the enduring concepts. The idea with meta concepts is that they are concepts that span different curriculum areas. I will use my curriculum area to teach it, but I will also show the students how it also fits somewhere else. An example of that might be feedback loops. So I would teach feedback loops, negative feedback, when I'm teaching homeostasis, or the way that the body regulates blood glucose level and thermoregulation, etc. But feedback loops are also just as important in robotics and coding and countless other ways as well, for example, the finance industry, etc. So the meta concept there is the feedback loop. Another one is exponential growth. So that's relevant to my curriculum area in biology when I teach about population growth or the growth of a bacterial colony. But it's just as important in economics when they're talking about compound interest, or it's just as important when we're looking in geography and looking at human population growth, for example. So the meta concept is exponential growth. Another one that I think is super important is design thinking. So design thinking, I would teach design thinking in designing experiments. But my colleagues in design technology would think about design thinking when students are designing a product. Equally, in coding and in home economics, etc. There's so many different ways in which we think about design thinking, but that meta concept is design thinking, systems thinking, computational thinking. These are all meta concepts. Another couple of examples, referencing. I can see a huge opportunity for myself, or perhaps whoever's the expert at referencing at the school, to make the video on referencing. And that is what we use for every curriculum area across the school to ensure we've got commonality. Another area is going to be super important is to be identifying those key terms that we use in assessments, like for example evaluate and justify and explain. students need to understand what those concepts mean. Every teacher at the school needs to be applying those concepts in the same way. So what better way to do it than for our expert at the school or a small group at the school to identify what that meaning is. We'll make a video on that, and then it's available for all curriculum areas. So my vision is to have a library of videos on meta concepts and meta skills that are not curriculum specific, not curriculum area specific, and teachers can just grab them as they require them. Students can access the video library whenever they have a question. What does it analyze mean again? There it is. How do I reference? There, it's there. So across all of the school, it's exactly the same. Focusing on meta concepts and meta skills, because they're the ones that we want to stick with students after they leave school.